Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, sat sri akal, aloha, hola, ciao, bonjour, buna, mabuhay, and privyet. It's really, really good to be with you all again, and I know you'll be very, very pleased that you have joined us today because we have a very wonderful guest with us, and it's Alfredo. And I practiced saying your last name, Alfredo, and I'm blacked out. But it doesn't matter because in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to tell us more about who you are and what you do. But in the meantime, I want to welcome you. I'm so happy that you have joined us. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Samia. I will not, practice all the hellos. Actually, I resonate. Many of them resonated with me because I live in America. I am from Argentina, and I am Jewish. There are at least three of those were like I felt they were to me, and made me feel very welcomed. The last name, yes, it's a challenge for everybody. Is Borodowski. Okay, Borodowski. I live my life spelling it, on the phone. Then don't worry. But it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. And Alfredo, yes, please do tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Well, I am a consultant. My expertise is on positive psychology, which
Hmm.
is the science of what works, the science of flourishing.
Yeah,
Traditional psychology for 100 years focus on what is wrong,
right.
from depression, neurosis, which is all great. I am bipolar. I have bipolar. No, I have bipolar. Then I've been the beneficiary of medication and therapy. But for 100 years, we didn't study what is right with people.
Hmm.
Happiness and flourishing and resilience, motivation, optimism. We had no papers, no studies, no experiments. And in 1998, Marty Seligman, who was the president of the Association of American Psychologists, he challenged the field and said, hey, what's going on? Let's study what is right. And exploded a big revolution on psychology. And we have papers and experiments on the best practices of how to have a flourishing life.
Yes. I love that. I have a huge partiality for positive psychology, actually.
Okay, great.
So I'm so glad to have you on because you're so right. I can't believe that it took, I mean, actually, we should give some credit to the fact that psychology itself is a relatively new field. I mean, compared to some of the other sciences. So in some ways, I guess it's not maybe that surprising that it took until late 1990s for someone to come up with positive psychology or at least establish it more as a official subfield within psychology. But it is shocking that there were you know, when I was in college and just taking intro to psychology classes, our professors would tell us that, oh, there's this problem, that problem with the DSM and its approach, and the efficacy oftentimes of the treatments prescribed is like 30%, which is like you might as well throw a coin and just take a
Right.
complete chance at any kind of treatment. It's like shocking how many issues and challenges there were with the dominant approach that was clinical psychology, and it just people were just keep going with it, keep going with it. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, the Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I work with companies and with individuals on a coaching basis. But, it all makes sense. We are programmed first to see the negative.
Yeah.
As a defense mechanism. In fact, I am finishing, I finished the book 4 months ago, and I finished another one actually yesterday on optimism, and in Spanish, this one. I work a lot in South America, and we have a system in the brain called the reticular system. The activated, the reticular activating system, which is a series of neurons. It's not an organ. They go all, through the brain, all the way to the spine. And the function of the system is to tell us which information we should take or not. We are exposed to 11 million sensations a second.
Yes.
It takes a second to understand. 11 million. Of those 11 million pieces of information that we get every second, we can only absorb 40 to 50.
Yeah.
Imagine the selection we have. The reticular system is in charge of making the selection. And it's a primitive system. It came to be in the cave times to make sure that you were not eaten by a lion or bear, because to be at a defensive stand was actually survival. Then people who do not develop the reticular system are going to have fewer opportunities in life than those who do not. Because people who develop it, it's like a filter. People who develop it will filter useful information to find opportunities.
Yes.
And it's trainable, by the way. And people who do not train their internal filter, they are going to basically look out for danger, and they're going to be less creative.
Right.
But that's why psychology began with the negative, like most endeavors. Okay, and then it takes an effort and it takes an intention to move to the positive.
Right. Yes, since survival is extremely important. I hear you. It makes sense that our brain would prioritize danger and things that could harm. And for us to have this perspective more generally, like you say, okay, well, what's my problem? Let me figure out what my problem is, and then I can figure out the solution. And in general, I suppose that does make sense. And at the same time, when we're talking about how to be happy, how to make change more fun and easy, that's not enough.
Well, there is a methodology to change your filter towards the positive. And what we know today from positive psychology is that you need to know what is called your 24 character strengths. There are 24 character strengths which are found on every culture throughout time.
Yes.
These are 24 everywhere. And we also know that 70% of Americans are not aware of their own character strengths. Then there is an epidemic of strength blindness. And if you know your top 5 of the 24, you have a chance of flourish 9 times more, and you apply them 18 times more. Then not only that we work on the negative,
Yeah.
we are working 7 out of 10 people that are working 9 to 18 times below the potential for not using the strengths that they already have.
Yeah. Can you give us some examples of character strats and how one could use one of them?
I share with you my top 5,
Yeah.
because I done, I am very aware of them. Then my top 5 are creativity, curiosity,
Mm.
love of learning,
Yeah.
perseverance,
Yeah.
and courage. Then once I knew them and I discovered them, then I was able to align my strength with my objectives
Right.
and becoming significantly more productive. That's why I mentioned to you that write books.
Yeah.
And because I know myself, I know that creativity, love of learning, and curiosity are central to me, then I was able to develop writing of books as an expression of what's already strong in me
Mm.
and fulfill my objectives in life. Then once you know your strengths, everything changes.
Right.
Samia, you really like people, they soar. And they tell me, wow, now I feel legitimate and I feel authentic and motivated. And again, just by applying what they already have, but with intention and consciousness.
Yes. You know the strengths, the 5 character strengths, you gave some examples of the ones that you have. The first time that I learned about them and the concept as a whole, the thing that really struck me is that, I mean, these are character strengths. So everyone has them. There's no single human being that um, doesn't have character strengths.
Right.
But so often we devalue, we don't think of them as strengths, or we don't think of them as something that can help us do better in our lives and just be more happy and so forth. I mean, like, let's take a strength like curiosity. There's so many people, especially kids, when you think about it, that are extremely curious, but a lot of times they're not thinking that is a strength that they have, because especially for, unfortunately, a lot of kids, a quality, a character strength like curiosity can, um, I mean, people can tell them, oh, you're asking too many questions, or like different things that they do to try and quell their curiosity. It annoys the adults around them because they're being too active and, things like that. And so we can actually be discouraged from utilizing and expressing our
Yeah.
character
Well,
strengths.
what I see working with corporations, which is my main work, is that in some way, as adults, we still working, as if we were children. But one thing I want to do is, look, we are talking about the strengths, and the top 5 strengths are so easy to find, and I want to tell the people listening how to do it,
Yeah.
because they may be feeling, okay, that these are great. What are mine? Then if you listening, you take your phone and text me the word positive at the number 33777. That's all you need to do. Okay, text positive to 33777. I will send you the 24 strengths and a couple of questions of how to find your top five.
Mm.
Because I don't want anybody to go through life without maximizing the potential they already have. And for me, it's a mission, a personal mission, a life mission, a quest that every day of the week, I help somebody find their top strengths. That's my purpose. What
Uh,
gives purpose to me? Then I have made it easy. It's a text away,
yes, I
literally a
love
text away.
that. I love that. I love that. So tell me a little bit more about the challenge that you see in the corporate environment when it comes to helping people use their character strengths more.
Well, I am working now specifically on the introduction of new technologies to the
Mm,
workplace. What we're seeing that as we incorporate AI technologies, there
mm-hmm.
is a there is an increase, tremendous increase on uncertainty, anxiety, and depression
Ah,
in the workplace. We need to understand that technology shifts culture,
mm,
and culture is the main engine of how people work, their motivation, their purpose. And this technology is very different from the ones before because these other technologies in the past, they were about how to make the work faster and do things more precise and better. This technology is different. This technology is more about replacing who we are
mm,
because AI can write a song and AI can write a poem. Really, it's a technology that infringes in what is to be human. Then
mm,
there is this deep, deep, deep concern of what is my value? And do
mm,
I have a place anymore in the world? Then the questions that AI is opening are questions philosophically, spiritually, and on the management side,
mm.
completely different from the one before. Then I just finished the book. It's called The Human Upgrade, The New Leadership for the AI Era. It's going
Mm-hmm.
to be published by Maxwell, John Maxwell Publishing. For those who know about leadership, they know who John Maxwell is, the number one personal leadership maybe in the world. Then it's going to be published by them. And what I do in the book, I apply the principles of positive psychology
Mm,
to the introduction of AI at companies and how
mm,
to be able to enjoy all the great things that AI is bringing without losing the human dimension and power. Okay. That's why it's called the human upgrade.
yeah.
Because if we upgrade technology, we must upgrade all that is human in the company. Otherwise, companies are going to suffer tremendously, and the companies who understand that humanity is going to become the added value of the future are going to be the ones who are going to really make it.
Yes. You have to tell me more about this. So, um, yeah, tell me more about maybe just um, the different things that you cover in the book. I mean, you've given us a brilliant overview, but what are some of the more like different chapters and different problems and solutions that you address?
Yeah, one thing I do, by the way, there is clearly a chapter on how to use strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And I go there into a very detailed way of what the strengths are, how to apply them to your corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as you apply strengths and know how to use them, then depression and anxiety and uncertainty, they begin diminishing substantially because people feel strong. Then how do you have people who feel strong when the market is telling them you may be now second to technology? Okay, how do you maintain that sense of pride and motivation with the
Mm.
people you're working with? And then I have a very detailed chapter. Every chapter, by the way, has an explanation of what the problem is, and a lot of case studies. I go into actual cases and companies and how they solve the problem. And then at the end also, I have a QR that sends you to a page with exercises you can use to do it at your company by
Very good.
yourself. Okay, then it's a page dedicated to managers, leaders, with workshops that they can themselves apply what they learn in the chapter. Okay,
Nice.
very practical. I want people to, to change the world.
Yes.
Then there is a chapter I find interesting on 5 myths that are in companies very ingrained that are really eating them from the inside out. I give you one, for example, that fixing is better than nourishing.
Mm.
Okay, and we have this culture of fixing, and leaders are brought usually to places to fix a situation.
Yeah.
Then they focus on the negative.
Right.
Because otherwise, if they don't fix something, they don't have value or reason to be.
Yeah.
And it comes to a point in which they need problems to find value in themselves.
Mm.
And what we know today from positive psychology and studies is that if you nourish people instead of fixing in what you think is weak, your results are much higher, but tremendously more higher.
Yeah.
Then I go through 5 minutes like that. And then I had chapters, look, I think I had chapters on leadership. The leadership for today is different from the leadership. Okay, I had chapters on teams. Okay, what the team for today, how a team should work today. I had a chapter on purpose. Okay, how to regain purpose today when, technology is completely different. Then, those are the kind of chapter, in some way standard issues that leaders and companies and teams ask all the time. The best team, the best leader, the best purpose, okay? But now a completely different view of how they need to be reshaped and understand on the AI era and what to apply, the real mechanisms that we know that today are going to position a company ahead of others. There's a chapter in what is called, by the way, psychological capital. It's a new concept
Tell me
that
more.
is very new. We know today from studies that there are 4 strengths that are decisive for a company well-being. And they are self-efficacy, meaning that you believe that you can do something, hope, optimism, and resilience. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, if you cultivate those 4 specifically, you're going to have a strong company. And in the book, I go one by one what they mean, because hope, optimism, they're very precise in what they mean in this theory and dynamics. I go in again to case studies, and there's science behind it, and then the application. But, it's a shame. Positive capital is one of the concepts. It's like 5 years old that has revolutionized the way we understand how companies work. And Samia working out there, I go to leaders and give workshops. Nobody have heard about it.
Yeah.
It's big. It's big in experiments, in labs. It's big in conferences, in the journals, but has not yet percolated into the field. And that's something I feel very strong about. Psychological capital, central.
Yes. Tell me more, and maybe you could share one of the case studies as an example of what it is and how it's applied, or
There's, I may have in the book over 50 case studies. Okay, I give you one that's come to my mind. SodaStream. Okay, SodaStream came almost out of the blue and created one of the strongest companies selling people how to bring fizz into water. Okay, I mean that's what they did. You buy a machine, you put water in the container, you put it in the machine, and you have basically carbonated water.
Right.
And with that idea, they became one of the strongest companies. They dominate that area. Then they began putting flavor into it, okay. What did he do? How did he do it? People think that it was about marketing and about strategy, and that's basic. That's true. But the secret was that very early on, they hired a team of positive psychology experts.
Mm.
And they asked them to design the best way for managers to review workers.
Ah.
And they design a review of workers based on strength and character and positivity instead of fixing.
Mm.
And they have a protocol that was very clear that every management review, and they don't call it review anymore, because that's a negative word, but every encounter a manager had with somebody working there, they always began by tell me which strength you used last week that helped you succeed.
Mm.
Okay. Then always they began, even when they have a worker that wasn't doing a great job, they always began with a positive. Because at the end of the day, what you want to do is for the person to do better, not to punish the person.
Right.
And Samia, by changing the process of how they review people,
Yeah.
that was the cornerstone of changing the culture of SodaStream to become what SodaStream is today. That's just one of the 50 cases I bring. And I bring the details, by the way, when I bring a case, the question they ask.
Yeah.
I bring samples of the questions. I bring statistics. I bring really, all, and the scientific data and studies behind it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for sharing that example. You just made me think about, uh, I've been learning this lesson in a somewhat different context in the last few years about the importance of focusing on helping people do better rather than punishment. And it's like, again, it's just there's so much in the dominant culture that just teaches us and misleads us actually into believing, into thinking that punishment, criticism, is the way to actually help someone do better and
Yes.
so forth. Um, uh, I mean,
I lean, I explore that in the book in detail, the
mm,
mechanisms and ways out of it. It's central. It's
yeah,
central to the book.
yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more? Because this is such a core issue, I think, and it might be one of the biggest mindset shifts people need to make is to shift away from fear-based motivations to more positive motivations. Because it's like, at one hand, fear is such a huge driver of our behavior. So logically, someone might think, oh, so I should use fear to control people.
No, for sure. It's about control. But look, it does not matter why you bring me to a company. Some companies bring me for motivation, for crisis, for they want better results, a variety of reasons. I always begin the same way.
Yeah.
I begin always with a workshop on strengths. And everybody get their strengths and the team get a profile of the strengths. And when that happens, Samia, is almost like magic. People move automatically from a modality of blame and fixing to a modality, how can we use our strengths?
Hmm.
And, And people sometimes complain with reason that consulting takes forever and the consultant prolongs things. And, well, I tell you, here you have a workshop of 2 hours
Yeah.
that is going to be making a big difference. Then I give you a protocol about how to sustain what you did in the workshop, okay, with
Yeah.
very specific things to do every week with the team to maintain what you learn. But really, it takes 2 hours for a big shift. And you will have a different culture if you begin, with that step.
Yeah. Yeah, I was realizing that a lot of times in the dominant culture, the reason, you know, because the reason a lot of times people will use criticism or fear, I mean, there is an agenda to like control people in the sense that the 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 people who are in charge think they know better. And so they want things done in a certain way. They want things done their way. And so if you are on an agenda to make sure everyone does exactly what you want, exactly as you want, then in some ways it might be a good idea to try and control everybody and
Well, you have
fear.
to look,
Yeah.
hierarchies need to sustain themselves. And the way to sustain themselves is I need to fix something. By the way, there are times in which you need fixing.
Hmm.
I mean, if your pipe is bursting in your basement, you better call a plumber to fix it, okay? Then there is a time for fixing.
Yeah.
But it cannot be, there is not the same thing fixing as home improvement,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
And fixing usually brings the situation to the way it was before it broke. Okay, nourishing moves the situation to a better place it was.
Yes.
Then the companies who are on a fixing mentality all the time will not prosper. And the ones who are
Yeah.
nourishing will prosper. It's as easy as that. And we know
Yeah.
how. We know how today. The difference is that before 1998, when we didn't know positive psychology, we didn't have the mechanics, the mechanisms, and the tools and the
Mm.
science. Today's the science. Okay, I go to companies and I use science. I use instruments where I map things. Like when you go to a doctor, you want a good blood work.
Mm.
You need a good X-ray to
Yeah.
diagnose and move ahead effectively. Well, that we have the X-rays today for companies. We have the blood tests today for companies, and I use them. Then that put me a year ahead of the equation because when I begin working, we have a good diagnosis.
Yeah.
Okay, then
Yeah.
I am a kind of an instrument-based consultant. I believe in them and I apply them. Then we in the last 20 years, a big shift has taken place. Has not yet made it into the field. Okay, then there is a good way to go. People ask me, are you optimist? Are you an optimist? I am, because we have not yet applied what we know.
Yes. Yes. I hear you on that. Yes, tell me more about the optimism because I think we all need more optimism, especially these days.
But I tell optimism in a little time we have.
Yes.
Optimism is how you expect things to happen
Hmm.
regardless in the future, regardless of how they happen now.
Yes.
Okay, then optimism in essence is how do you explain to yourself what happens to you? And the way you explain it to yourself is going to determine what is going to happen in the future. I give an example. Martin Seligman, I mentioned before, he studied baseball teams.
Hmm.
And he was, he, he, he was able to determine which teams were going to win the next season according to how the managers and players explain when they lost the game.
Uh,
Those who explain a loss like, we are not good players, that's what we lost, they didn't make it well the next seasons. Those who explain a loss with well, that night we were tired because we traveled all night long, they won next season. What the difference? One's explained the loss as something in them and permanent, a fault in themselves.
right.
The other explained the loss like, well, we didn't play well. There were external circumstances which did not define who we are. Okay, we need to travel less next time or travel during the day, and we are good. Then those who make a loss permanent and within them, they were not optimistic. They were pessimistic. Then what they help is companies and leaders. How do you tell the story to yourself?
Yeah.
And the way you tell the story to yourself, and you write emails, and you write memos, and you give speeches, is going to determine optimism. If when you do something wrong or you have a failure, if you use words like never, always, you are going to be a pessimist. If you say sometimes, this time, in some occasions, then you're going to work within optimism because do not make the failure permanent and within yourself. It's all in the language when it comes to optimism.
Right. We don't have too much more time, but I do want to dig a little bit deeper into this with you because I just know it. A lot of our listeners will be listening to what you're saying about optimism. And I think one of the questions that, because again, in the dominant culture, which this is not how it functions. Like when you come across people who are optimistic, a lot of times the criticism that they're given is that, they're out of touch with reality.
Right.
So, is there like what's it like? Maybe what's the basis of optimism? Like a healthy basis of optimism, so that you can maintain a high level of optimism and still be firmly grounded.
Then interesting in the field we call it flexible optimism. Okay, and flexible optimism is the optimism has to be grounded in reality. Absolutely. Okay, and I like a philosopher called Martin Buber, who is a German philosopher. For those who do philosophy, will know Martin Buber, one of the great philosophers of dialogue. Okay, and he called optimism realistic imagination. Then optimism works on that tension between what is real and what we can imagine.
Right.
Okay. I am not going to I can be optimistic, but I know that at this time in my life, I'm not going to become a captain of a nuclear submarine. Okay. Then American Idol. There are families who tell somebody who, sell your truck, go to California and become a singer, and the family basically fulfill your dreams and go ahead, and then they begin singing, and all of us have to do like this because it's the worst singing you have heard in your life. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? Then, yes, we won, we are the country's dreams, the American dream, etc. we need flexible optimism, an optimism that is grounded in reality, like you said,
Mhm.
that is not false and delusional. Okay, but that's basically, you have to work. I work with companies, I work with leaders to see when they become delusional.
Right.
Okay, that's part of the equation. That's part, that brings me to a point of what is hope. And hope is acting with alternatives.
Mm.
Then a good person is a person who doesn't see only, who has an objective, but actually what has multiple objectives and multiple ways.
Yes.
Okay, when you have multiple objectives and multiple ways, you're usually grounded
Yeah.
because you don't fall apart when things don't happen, and you don't push things when they cannot happen. You have alternatives and pathways to get somewhere.
Right.
Okay. Then more options, more maturity.
Right. Oh gosh. That's such a really good point. And I've tempted to dig deeper into it with you, and I know we have to get going. Oh gosh. So maybe we will wrap up more over here for today, but do you have any last thoughts you would love to share with
I,
us?
I want I want people to read the book, and then let me tell them the website where, it's going to take another. It's going to come, I think around May. But if you want they're going to be always an advance copy at very, reduced price, and I want you to know about it. Then my website is positive, we're talking about positivity, positive AB for Alfredo Borodowski, positiveab.com. And there you will find information about when the book is going to come out, and people to text positive at 33777 and get their strengths. Again, I think that people ask me, how would you tell everything you believe in one sentence? And I will go from fixing to nourishing. That's the key. We have to move from fixing to nourishing.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. And no worries at all, Alfredo, because for sure we will drop your links and the contact information that you shared in the show notes. So for my last reminder, I just want to encourage all of our listeners to please make sure you check the show notes because yes, that's the best way to connect with Alfredo and continue to learn with him because there is definitely so much more to learn. And I'm sorry we are running out of time for right now, but maybe we can bring you back and just keep talking with you too.
Yes, I would love to get back. You got just great questions, and you have a way, sweetness in the way you ask, which brings out of the person the best.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Yeah, it's with no more delays. Until we connect next time, I wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.